What would Alessandro Bastoni offer to Liverpool? And why are Liverpool interested in getting players who seemingly could create a back three? Well, it's been a question we've been asking for a very long time on this channel, and sometimes it's led us to some very awkward conclusions. For instance, some of the more senior players and some of the stars of this team not necessarily fitting that system. But Bastoni simply is a tall, 1 meter 90 centimeters tall, left-footed centre-back player who currently plays as part of back three, or has played as part of back three, for Inter Milan. A very successful, very dominant, very forward-thinking team who are adaptable, who clearly have tactical intelligence, and he has been given an education that I think most other people would love. We've already got ourselves an Italian centre-back in Leone. I wanted to call him Alessandro Leone, but it is in Leone. And he's also a profile that Liverpool clearly admire. Liverpool clearly admire this profile of player. That kind of, there is a first of all, a ball winning element to them, though Leone wasn't fantastic at winning the ball, and Bastoni hasn't always been incredible in those areas either. He's actually a player who's much better in close quarters with people and much better at kind of part of a back unit rather than these like one-on-one areas where we think, well, maybe he'd be the next Kanate. No, wipe those ideas away of what we think Kanate is. Wipe the ideas away of playing alongside Virgil van Dijk for the next 5 years. Liverpool are looking at a succession plan for the next 5 to 6 years. Because weirdly, Bastoni is going to be 27 by the time that Liverpool get the opportunity to sign him. His birthday's in April, he's already 26. And the kid is great. But it's very clear that I think Liverpool are looking at a backline profile that changes away from, broadly, Kanate and Van Dijk. Because as much as we don't want to admit it, and Van Dijk is an all-time player, those are both Klopp profiles that fit into this Liverpool side right now. And those Klopp profiles were great for the Klopp era of football. But as Liverpool are looking to move forward, and arguably we want a more dynamic midfield, not only with players that can drop from the front in Florian Wirtz, but players that can adapt from the back in Bastoni or in Mark Gay or in any of these other guys, we are looking for different profiles of player that can seamlessly transition between the midfield and the other areas on the pitch. Kanate is not that guy. Van Dijk, as much as he is a great distributor, is no longer asked to do those things, and he's much more comfortable sitting further back, defending. It's not that he's not a dynamic forward player. He's great on the set pieces, and he's a fantastic captain, and he's done some amazing long balls, crossfield diags, or everything you want for Liverpool in terms of distribution. He's been underestimated there as one of the all-time greats of the Premier League. But he's not the profile that we're looking for moving forward at Liverpool. He can continue to play at Liverpool, he can continue to be the captain, and he is probably the most capable of being in that back line should we move to a back three or should we move to like a different shape. But he won't be here for the next 10 years. Equally, nor will Ibrahim Kanate. We've offered him a lot of contracts. We've tried to negotiate with him. Broadly, either he feels we've undervalued him or he's already set his mind on a move elsewhere into Los Blancos. And that would mean we no longer have him. We lose him on a free. And we need a high-profile centre-back to come in and be Liverpool's guy. Now, the kind of disappointing thing is, obviously, we'll go back to it, Mark Gay was an option for us in the summer. And yeah, we did go in for Mark. And I think there are a lot of people who are very disappointed that he didn't sign, that Crystal Palace kind of messed up on what they needed to do, that Crystal Palace left it all very last minute, all this kind of thing. That was all very frustrating for Liverpool, I think, because they had their plans, and I think even the best laid plans, blah, 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 they didn't execute them in the way they needed to. And Mark Gay was a big, not only contingency for should we have seen, Kanate drop off in the way that he has, but also should we have wanted to shift positions and to show our new centre-backs, here's what we want to do, Mark Gay is that guy, he's that profile. Now, how will Bastoni fit in alongside him? Well, Bastoni is a very experienced European defender. I'm just referring to my notes here, sorry. His ball-playing ability from the back, he's very calm, right? He's someone who's got the ability to pick out a pass, but he's also got someone who's got the ability, as by the way, are most defenders, but he's got the ability to bring the ball forward and then distribute it and start attacks. He's not the kind of player where you sort of go, oh yeah, we're just going to rotate it around the back here and just see what happens. And yeah, okay. He's good at picking those forensic line-breaking passes that get into the midfield and can get into people's feet. And that was one thing that I observed against City, because obviously this is a very high line, a very kind of, overview of what Bastoni can do. There are times where I thought, there is a pass on there to drill that into the feet of a midfielder and for them to turn and get onto the space that Man City have left. But there were too many times where, being pressed, we saw Konate very uncomfortable, Van Dijk not quite able to pick out Robertson, not quite able to get the midfielder away. And a lot of the times, Liverpool were frustrated that we just got overwhelmed and outnumbered. Having a defender that can not only carry the ball into midfield, and then you rotate into a back two, or someone else comes back or whatever, commits the opposition and puts them into a position where they're suddenly out of position in that, means they have to rotate round and deal with that. Opens up space elsewhere for a winger or a striker, whatever you want to call it. But also, it's an extra body that we're just bringing out of the back that has the ability to play immediately ahead of them, rather than someone who's going, what is ahead of me? I feel more comfortable here. That's two different kinds of centre-back. There's a player that can move into this area, and then there's a player that feels the area moving towards them. And that's two different profiles. I think Van Dijk is very much, the area comes towards him, but he's got the ability to play out. And I think Konate is almost completely reliant on this area coming towards him rather than moving into it. There are some times where he has his little dalliances into those areas, but it's not nearly as consistent as we would want it to be. And it certainly isn't something you would consider a strength of his game. Joe Gomez, similarly, fantastic player, but not that kind of player. We are looking at front-footed centre-back players right now, and it's just that simple. Gay is that, Bastoni is that, Schlotterbeck is that. All these guys are players that keep up the pressure on the opposition. Not only that, but obviously, wow, someone's coming, they think my takes are awful. God damn it. Anyway, he is now in a position where he's done everything he can do at Inter. Liverpool come in and make an offer, 80, 100 million, whatever you want to call it. Do you want, I doubt you can even hear this because I'm doing the voice cancellation thing, but there's a loud siren. He's a great player who will offer experience in the back three, which is kind of what we were looking to buy in the first place. The same as we were looking to get with Mark Gay, experience in the two, experience in the three. He's got much more experience on the left side of a three. Guess what we need? Or would need? And guess how it would impact Kirkez or Frimpong on the other side? Suddenly, there's so much more space for those guys not to have to cover that they're looking at just bombing on and contributing to the front line, which is where Kirkez looks particularly comfortable, which is where Frimpong looks particularly comfortable. And that, for me, makes me feel a lot more comfortable. Also, by the way, it's why so many people are talking about why there are brilliant attacking wingers at Inter, because of the centre-backs immediately behind them that take so much of that responsibility away from them. They become basically auxiliary wingers. We've been talking about Liverpool for some time. Physically, he's absolutely fantastic. He is a fantastic blend of size and mobility, would be my word. I think there's the worry that obviously when you get so big, you have to build up a little bit. I think if he hit the Premier League, I think he'd hit the ground running. He already seems to have that kind of physical ability. And he's brilliant at just putting people under pressure to then go and win that second ball. It's not about winning your aerial duels. It's about getting the second ball and making the right space and kind of casting the shadow that you need to cast. That used to be the front lines issue, where it was like, right, we've got to do our pressing. Then it became a midfield thing where Xabi Alonso and a few other players were just really good at controlling the space. They didn't have to tackle, they just marshaled the ball. And Bastoni is one of those people that can marshal the ball whilst also getting stuck in when he needs to. And then obviously he's got the tactical intelligence and versatility that I think we're looking for. He's played across different defensive setups. And of course, he's included as part of the back three and sometimes as part of the back four. And he's the prototype of the modern defender, is the Italian words that I got translated. That's a fairly compelling profile, guys. Like, if we're going to lose Van Dijk, which we are in the next 2 years, and if we're going to lose Konate, which I've kind of become resigned to, we need another prototype. We need someone who's going to be standout for us. And it's worth going into the market and spending on that. I think we will sell Joe Gomez in the next couple of windows. I think we maybe expected more people to step up and maybe Mark Gay to come on that free. Maybe he still does, by the way. well, yeah, 35 million or cheap. And that is some backline we'd have built then. But again, this summer, there is also skepticism around Liverpool rebuilding too quick, rebuilding too much in one department, expecting people to just hit the ground running, blah, 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 blah. But that's why we wanted to get Mark Gay last summer and not next summer. It's why we wanted to bed someone in, and then we'd be able to go, hey, Virgil, we're playing that back three. You sit in the middle. Gay's on one side. Bastoni or Leone or whoever's on the other side. That, I think, is where Liverpool are going. You forget we've already got Leone, by the way. Obviously, it's an incredibly difficult injury for him to recover from and then go on to have kind of, you know, an immediate impact on the side. But that's probably why we're looking at very high-profile players like Bastoni and a number of other guys who not only, by the way, are great defenders, but they're also regularly available for their team. He has very high marks against a lot of sides. And then when he has bad games, I think that's my worry, is he sometimes has bad games. You know what I mean? I watched him against Napoli a few weeks ago and he had a great game against them. But that's centre-backs. Sometimes you get low scores or you just don't particularly do well. He didn't get a low. I think I remember looking at the Sofa score after that and thinking, I thought it was better than that, but he was still not good. Anyway, how would you profile Bastoni coming into this side? What would you like to see him doing? And, you know, where we'd like to see him playing? Let me know in the comments below. And I will be down there in the Discord, which is absolutely free. There's membership, of course. And then, of course, there is also Patreon where we get a slightly better cut. But just let me know in the comments below what you guys are thinking, whether you would be going in for Bastoni and where you think he would fit into this Liverpool team, which to me seems fairly obvious, but let me know what you think the nuances of that are. I'll see you guys in the next video. Much love. Bye-bye.